working to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Please use the chat feature to let you know you're here, to let us know that you're here and the agency that you represent, so we'll have a record of that. There's going to be an opportunity for question and answer during this session, and you can also use the chat bar to ask questions because we'll be monitoring that. A member of the team is going to follow up if there are any questions that we can't get to due to time. And please keep in mind that the county has a website that has an FAQ that may answer a lot of your questions. It's very comprehensive. We are recording this session and it's going to be posted later for viewing. So that might be helpful for people who haven't been able to join us or if you want to review anything. I'll also ask you if you can please keep yourself on mute. If you're not speaking, background noise can be challenging when we're meeting like this. And now I have the great pleasure to introduce you to Arlington's County Commissioner, Devin Allen. She represents Precinct 2. Commissioner Allen has been a tireless advocate for getting federal CARES funding that Tarrant County has received out into the community. We very much appreciate her efforts in that area. Commissioner Allen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Good. Thanks so much for joining this call today. I appreciate the opportunity to join you all, and thanks, Jennifer, for your kind remarks. We have worked really hard to try to make sure that we are getting this direct allocation of CARES funding out to the community and to folks who are certainly needed. I do just want to share briefly that with our CARES Act program, we have 4 pillars. And I'll just very briefly explain each of those pillars. The first is support for our local partners. So of course, any city or county in the nation that has a population of 500,000 or more received a direct allocation of CARES Act funding. So for Tarrant County, that means the county itself did, and then also the city of Fort Worth did. But that means the 40 other cities in Tarrant County did not receive a direct allocation. And so at the county, we did partner with those cities to provide them a $55 per capita or per person allocation based off of 2019 population numbers. We've additionally helped to support PPE distribution to those cities as well. So that's our first pillar. Our second pillar is testing, and particularly for Arlington. I have been working on an effort for a number of weeks to get a dedicated test site in East Arlington to serve the Arlington community, the Eastern Tarrant area, Southeast Tarrant, and of course, including the Tarrant County portion of Grand Prairie. Arlington, the city of Arlington, we do have a partnership with them for their test site that they are running, but we know that we need to increase our testing capacity, and we are working hard every day to do that, given all the many variables and constraints related to testing. The third pillar is our small business development grant program, which launched some weeks back with about a 2-week application period. We even extended it to try to provide a greater opportunity for businesses to participate. As of court on Tuesday, we received an update on the number of applications that were submitted, which just over 2,000 applications. And the majority of those were from Arlington, which is great. I know that the city of Arlington, Arlington Chamber, a lot of partners tried to make sure, including our office, wanted to make sure that we share that information with as many folks as possible. We're in the process of working through those applications with the goal of getting that money out the door to those qualifying business owner applicants. We're working to get that money out the door absolutely as quickly as we can. And then the fourth and final pillar, and why we're here today, is the social services pillar. That includes a rental assistance program that was launched about 3 weeks ago. And to date, or up to July 13th, we've had 173 applications received, representing approximately $572,000 in rental assistance. And that doesn't sound like a lot. And so that means that even though I know that there's a team of folks that have been working really hard to get the word out about it, I know some of your organizations do provide rental assistance to your clients. So please be sure to to look for that program and to refer your clients to this resource, they do have to show a loss of income related to COVID. And we're learning from our applicants that they're also struggling with childcare. That would be no surprise. Also with medical expenses related to having to quarantine or bills related to being hospitalized because of COVID. And we're seeing, of course, that a lot of folks are being affected, especially folks who work in the event, manufacturing, warehousing, childcare, salon workers. I know that that's no surprise to you all, as you all serve a diverse group of folks in the community. And then, of course, our non-governmental organization program and why we're here today. And I just want to thank you all for all of the work that you were doing pre-COVID and all the work that you've been doing with COVID. I certainly have volunteered with a number of organizations, financially supported, served on boards, and I know nonprofit organizations are asked to do a lot. So when you take a global pandemic and then also a global social justice movement on top of that, I know y'all are tired. I know y'all are like, what more can we take? But I really, really appreciate all the work that you're doing, all the folks that you're serving with compassion and helping for folks to still remain positive, hopefully, and that their dignity is intact, especially for folks who perhaps have never been in positions of need before. All of this has certainly been a humbling experience for a lot of folks. So with that, I will stay on the call because I'd like to hear your questions and concerns that may come up related to this program. And then also, you all can always reach out to my office. I want to share that number. It's 817-248-6099. And you can always email us at commissionerprecinct2@tarrantcounty.com. You can follow us on Facebook. My official page is Commissioner Devin Allen PCT2. And we do send out regular emails regarding actions at the county, including our COVID efforts, COVID relief efforts. And so if you'd like to receive those emails, you can visit the tarrantcounty.com website. You'll click on the Commissioner button, Commissioner Precinct 2. It'll lead you to there, or you can just simply email us or call us and ask for us to add you. So with that, I don't want to take any more time because I know we've got a packed agenda and call. So with that, I think, am I passing it back to Jennifer or to Regina?
I'll take it from here, okay. Commissioner Allen, thank you so much. And thank you, Jennifer, again. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. For those who I have not met, I am Regina Williams, Vice President of United Way, Tarrant County in our community investment. And I also have the great role of serving as the Regional Director for United Way Arlington. So for those who I have not met, welcome, look forward to working with you. Thank you for joining this call. I am going to be passing it over to Kristen Camarano, who is going to give us some highlights of the assistance program. For some of you, it may be, if you were on one of the other county calls, it may be information that you have had, but it's always great to hear it for a second time to fill in holes. For those of you who are new to the information, it would be great to have this as you wrap up your application that we hope that you fill out to serve our residents in Arlington. So I am going to share my screen, and Kristen, as soon as it comes up, we will be ready to go. Give me 1 second. Kristen, can you see that?
Yes, I can. Thanks, Regina. Can everyone hear me okay? Can you hear me, Regina?
Yes.
Okay, great. I did end up using my laptop volume, so if at any point you can't hear me, okay, please just let me know. Well, good morning, everyone. Commissioner Allen said a lot of the words of gratitude that I plan to express, so I'll just say ditto. You guys are doing a lot of hard work. We've begun to see applications come in, and it's clear that that, as Commissioner Allen stated, the work that you guys normally do has increased dramatically because of COVID, and that's really why we've created this Care for Tarrant NGO program. So I'm going to run through these slides. There are just 8 or 9 of them, and I'll be as brief as possible before we open it up to Q&A. And as Regina, or I think it was Regina, said earlier, if you haven't visited the website, please do that prior to submitting an application. There's a wealth of information there, and that is ngo.tarrantcounty.com. So as you can see, the application opened on July 8th and it closes in 4 days. So July 21st, which is Tuesday at 11:59 p.m., the application will close. Let's see. An important note is that you must complete the application in one session, so it won't save. So you can go in and look at it, read it, print it off, and get all your materials together. But once you go in to begin filling everything out, you will have to complete it in one session. Next slide, please. So here are some of the high-level requirements to apply. You must be a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization providing services within Tarrant County. Commissioner Allen also mentioned the direct distribution to the city of Fort Worth. That isn't, if you are within the city of Fort Worth or serve Arlington and Fort Worth perhaps, you should still apply. We are coordinating with the city of Fort Worth to review applications for those organizations who serve either countywide or within the city of Fort Worth. So they are essentially just piggybacking on our application process as they didn't yet have an NGO program established. So in order to kind of streamline and get money out into the greater county around, in the same time frame, we are partnering with them. You must have been in business at least 2 years, and you must still be in business on December 30th of 2020. So the way, if you haven't yet seen the application, it's broken down into a couple of sections, and the way that we've formatted the program is to address both previously incurred expenses. So those would be expenses that you've incurred as of March 1st. All the way to the date of the application. One of the questions I got in a previous call is whether it has to be the exact date that you apply. It does not. So for accounting purposes, choose a date that works well with your accounting cycle. That will most likely be the end of a month. So when you apply, you could apply for March 1st through June 30th to make it sort of a clean break. And then the second section will ask you to indicate if you anticipate ongoing expenses or future expenses. So for that, you could use July 1st through October 31st. All applicants must disclose any other funding that you've received related to COVID-19 expenses. So for that, please include anything that offsets any of the program expenses or project expenses that you're requesting reimbursement for. So if a couple of other questions we've received is, well, what if I got PPP to cover payroll, but I'm requesting reimbursement for protective equipment, for PPE instead, or for food services? Well, those PPP payroll grants or funds that you receive don't offset your food service expenses, your cost of goods and things like that. So that's not going to discount any award amount you might get. We want to see the money you got, but it's not going to count against you. All expenses must be, and these are the U.S. Treasury Coronavirus Relief Fund guidelines, directly related to COVID-19, unbudgeted as of your March 27th budget or your most recently approved organizational budget, and incurred or planned to be spent between March 1st and our deadline is October 31st for purposes of this application. And that is to give us as the county enough time to receive the last requests for reimbursement and process those and get payment out before our December 30th deadline. So documentation that you should get together to submit with your application. We'll need your 501c3 IRS certification, your most recent 990 or audit, your 2020 organizational budget, and a W-9. And then as you go through the application, you'll see additional requests for documentation to support the expenses that you're requesting reimbursement for. For those of you who are submitting applications for anticipated future expenses due to a program or project that's COVID related, you will most likely be considered a federal subrecipient. I know a lot of you are already federal subrecipients and subject to single audit. So that's familiar to you, but for some of you who have not received federal grants before or don't typically work under federal guidelines, then that could be a little bit new to you. And if it is, there's a section on the website specific to subrecipient guidelines. So that I would suggest you read through that and familiarize yourself and reach out if you have specific questions about those. But essentially those are it's going to require you to keep documentation for potential audit for up to 5 years. That's the biggest requirement, which I know a lot of you fulfill already. And just be sure to keep as detailed client level data or data related to the services you provide as possible. Okay, and that's the presentation. So I believe that Regina, I'm going to hand it back over to you to host the Q&A.
Yes, we are now open. I'm going to stop sharing I'm going to go here really quick. For many of you, if you've not been to the county website, I encourage you to do so. In here, you will find eligible expenses. You will also find where Kristen mentioned the FAQs, which was just updated with a lot of the questions that she or other members have been receiving. So there's a lot of information in here that may be relevant to some of your wonderings or your inquiries. So when you have a moment, I would ask you to please take a look at that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow for us to do some Q&A while we have Kristen on the call and the commissioner. So I will stop talking. If you have a question, we ask that you unmute yourself, let us know who you are and the agency that you represent.
Hi, Regina. It's Catherine Arnold with Pathfinders. And I have a question, Kristen. Would costs associated with the provision of virtual services necessitated by COVID and including the provision of emergency assistance funds, would those costs, like technology costs, be acceptable?
Hi, Catherine. Yes.
Hi. Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, this is Sherry Campbell-Husband with Safe Haven of Tarrant County. Our finance director has asked me to inquire the period of time that the grant covers actually spans 2 fiscal years for us because it runs into October. And I know that the documentation required includes your budget, basically, so you can show that what you're requesting was unbudgeted. Given the time period covered, is there any reason that we would be expected to provide a copy of next year's budget, which has not yet been adopted, but will go into effect October 1st?
No, Sherry, there's not. I would, no, there's not. I mean,
thank you.
I don't think they would still be considered unbudgeted because they are unbudgeted as of March 27th.
Okay, we assumed. I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Hello, this is Dr. Renee Fowler-Hornbuckle. I'm the president founder of Destiny Empowerment Enterprises. We also, under that umbrella, provide food services in partnership with Tarrant Area Food Bank, and we also are we also have Destiny Academy Early Childhood Development Center. I heard the commissioner speak to the fact that a couple of things. The need for a testing site. I've worked very closely with the mayor in the city of Arlington in terms of being an emergency center. So we would be interested because we're in a very, very, very great location in terms of people being able to access from the freeway of 360 and Interstate 20 in Grand Prairie, Mansfield, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, Fort Worth, and Arlington. That would be one thing we would be interested in, but we don't really have a working budget for that. We've just stepped up to meet the need. It's pretty much the same thing with the need for the food drives as well. So those two items, could we apply separately, or can we talk to someone so we can develop that? We're here today because we've been in the Central Center. Our daycare center has been in the Central Center. We heard that there was a need for that as well. So we're really needing, I have my assistant on as well, we're really needing some direction on those three areas because we're doing the work, we're exhausted, but we have no money coming in. So we really need some direction.
Sure. Commissioner, I think there's probably a question in there for you as well, but I'll go ahead and answer what I can. Thank you, Doctor. The testing site, because that's something that you haven't yet started, that would be separate from this NGO application. But I would like, and I expect the commissioner as well to follow up with you on that as they continue to seek locations for sites. I know that we'll all be interested to speak with you more. Okay. As far as the services that you're already providing, that's what this application is for. So both the childcare and food service that you mentioned would be eligible, at least based on what you've said, for this program. You can combine those services into one application. Okay. We do only want to receive one application from every organization. If you have, if you can submit those expenses into two separate budgets, it's really however you prefer. You can combine them into one, or you can separate them. A lot of it has to do with how you account for them internally. So whatever works best for you. Okay. And as long as they, the expenses that you've incurred were unbudgeted, and you can show, and this has been a hot topic of debate, so I'll go ahead and address it now with your question. But showing or establishing COVID relatedness is very important for these CRF funds that we received. We understand that because this program started now, and a lot of you have been providing these services since March, or since the pandemic began, that you may not have been gathering as much data as you typically would in an effort to get services out the door. And we understand that. And so there is some reasonableness involved here when we review applications. But for those services, provide as much data as you can. And there's an opportunity to submit a narrative as part of your application. So I would encourage you to just explain, how these services are COVID related. If, kind of get creative, if you will. If there's a base level of service that you typically provide and you can show an increase in that service, please submit that. Number of clients served. If you can tell us what your typical number of clients served on a monthly or weekly basis is, but since the pandemic, that number has gone up a certain amount. Show us that. Those type of things will help to show COVID relatedness. So for the child care and food services that you spoke to, Doctor, those type of things would be helpful. And then if you plan to continue providing those services, then put together an anticipated budget based on what you've seen for the ongoing services. And so successful applicants will receive, a lot of successful applicants will receive a two-part award. One will be approval of previously incurred expenses, as I mentioned before, and then there'll be a pre-approval of ongoing anticipated expenses per the budgets that you submit. And then those will be invoiced by the agency on a monthly basis and reimbursed. So that's something to be sure you understand. There's no upfront grant funding. It's all reimbursement based. And that's
okay.
That data comes in.
And if I could ask one more question, because we've been on the phone with Austin as well. We're getting a lot of parents also calling about school issues. And we do before and after school care and summer programs, but we are now faced with parents that are essential workers that are going to be having to return to work and actually considering opening up classrooms. And of course, you know, we won't get the same funding that schools will. Would that be something that we could add, or you recommend just having an offline conversation with someone about anticipated options? Because we don't know what's going to happen. We're taking a poll right now of our parents, but nobody knows anything pretty much. And some parents are going to have to be on the front lines and returning to work. And so they're going to have that support. So working with others trying to figure out a strategy, basically. So we don't know. So
Yeah, that's, and I think a lot of people are in that situation of not knowing, and that's what's difficult about all of this. You know, because the application closes on Tuesday at midnight, I'll ask that you go ahead and at least submit something related to that request. Because there's so much unknown, you know, do your best in estimating cost. Obviously, you know, we may not be able to fund every eligible expense that comes in. We've got, we've got $20 million for the entire program, but we anticipate receiving up to 100 organizational requests. Some are going to be thousands, some are going to be a lot larger. And so it's hard to say with so many unknowns, but I want to at least have the request so that it's something that we can consider and discuss with our court members going forward.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Kristen, for that. I would add, and thank you, Dr. Hornbuckle, for your questions and for the work that your organization is doing. To directly respond to your question about testing, is that we have identified a potential location, but that doesn't mean moving forward and then trying to respond to the community and meet them where they are, that we would not, that we would also be considering locations where we could do mobile test sites versus obviously the drive-up test sites. And so if your organization is located in a well-known area that is amenable to the needs of a test location, then we certainly would like to know that. So I've already made note of it.
Okay.
I will add, unrelated to testing, but just somewhat in keeping with some additional points that Kristen added, is it is really helpful for her and then also for our court to have the fullest understanding of the need and what you all are seeing in the community. This is a program that we were able to develop based off of what we have right now. And we know that it's only going to go so far. And obviously there continue to be discussions at the federal level of additional relief packages. And so the more that we have the best understanding of what's going on in our community, that will guide us in our decisions and how we allocate resources. And somewhat to that point is, even when we came up with these applications for the various programs, and Kristen can certainly attest to it, that there was a lot of back and forth with our auditor's office, with our DA's office, with a consulting group that we have brought on to help us ensure our compliance with Treasury guidelines. So we worked really hard to strike a delicate balance of not making the application too onerous. And I know for you all nonprofit leaders, that you're used to, having to keep up with things really well and abide by, ever-changing guidelines. And so, but we wanted to make sure that our applications were as balanced as possible, but help to also mitigate the risk of potential clawback, so that if something happens moving forward, that we as a county would not be at a greater risk for having to return money to the federal government. Because regardless of who the end recipient or subrecipient is, we're still on the hook as the county, which also means the taxpayers are on the hook. So very delicate balance there. I wanted to be sure to mention that also, because as we're working through these programs and these processes, please consider it a open feedback loop. So we need to hear from you all what's working, what's not working, especially as we move forward with subsequent programs, as additional resources become available. And with that consulting group that I mentioned, one of the key things that they are assisting us with doing is to go after additional relief dollars, whether it's through any of the other governmental agencies or dollars that become available, so that we can try to maximize our efforts as much as possible. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tammy Thomas, and I'm with SAG 3 Nonprofit. I am a one-woman bombshell trying to supply crocheted masks to the homeless and violence survivors and breast cancer survivors. I crochet. I use recycled bags to crochet bed rolls and what you call it, backpacks. So I was wondering, is it even feasible for me to be applying for this loan?
Ms. Thomas, I apologize. You were breaking up a little bit. I hear that you're a bombshell, and I believe you. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of work, but I didn't catch the details of the services that you provide. But so if you could repeat that. But first, I'll say that being a one-woman show does not preclude you.
I may have to. Yeah, I might have to type it because I don't know what's going on with the internet service right now. So I might have to just type it in. But what I do is I recycle plastic bags to crochet bed rolls and backpacks for the homeless. And I was wondering, is it even feasible for me to be applying for this loan?
Yes, ma'am, it is. If you're a 501c3 nonprofit, then you can apply. The key here is to establish, as I mentioned before, COVID relatedness. I imagine that the demand for your products has probably gone up and for your services as a result of COVID-19. And so I would just ask that you do your best to document that increase in demand. So if you can show maybe your typical output, your typical services provided, and then show how those services, how the demand for those services has increased, whether that's clients served or cost of goods for the, and time, labor. Just do as much as you can to document that. But please do submit. I don't want anyone, if in doubt, submit anyway, I think is the message here. I would rather someone apply and not get funding than not apply and miss out. So the other thing that's really important, and I want to be sure everyone understands, is this application is not algorithm based. This is a very hands-on review process. There will be several people, a team of us reviewing each application. We have your contact information. If something is missing, if it's evident that you've made every attempt to provide everything that we've asked for, but there's a document missing, or we're having trouble establishing COVID relatedness, or we have a question, we will call you. We're not going to dismiss or deny your application because of a small flaw. So please don't hesitate to apply because you think that you may not qualify, or because you're not quite sure that the documentation you've submitted will suffice. If we need something else, we'll ask for it.
If you supply an application, who would you contact? Have you had a question regarding that?
I think I just heard for a contact, and if that was correct, it's the email is ngo@tarrantcounty.com. And I'll ask Regina to put that slide up again at the end of the Q&A so you guys can write down both the website and the email. ngo@tarrant.com. Tarrantcounty.com, I apologize. If you don't do email well, please call 817-884, and I am scrambling here for the number. I believe it's 1373, but I will confirm that at the end of this call. And you'll become familiar with a woman named Redmond Wortham. She is working with me on this program. She's fantastic and very helpful, and she will likely reply to a lot of your calls and emails. She or I will.
Thank you.
I got a question. This is Demetrius Kilgore. I'm the founding president and CEO at Finding Me Academy Global, where we help kids discover their purpose. It's after school and summer program. So we're out in Mansfield as well as Grapevine. And we never received any grants before. Everything is private donors. So question is, how does that process work, or could those questions be answered via website?
Those questions can be answered via email. So if you want to send those to ngo@tarrantcounty.com, and then if you'll look at the website, I think some of your questions will be included in that FAQ section. Excuse me.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi, this is Deb Capola with Arlington Charities. I had a quick question regarding an eligible expense. If there's a cloud-based software that's a yearly subscription service, would we need to divide that out, even if we pay as a yearly fee, divide that just to the months up until October 31st, or submit that whole amount?
You could do it either way. I think we would probably prorate it for purposes of this grant, program. So if you want to go ahead and prorate it, that would save us a little bit of time.
Not a problem. We can do that math. And then just a clarification on the application form, you had mentioned about other COVID funding that you may have, an organization may have received. If it does not cover any of the expenses for whatever is submitted, do you still want to know that that funding was received, and just to verify, just to know that it was received and it's covering other expenses? Or is it, if it's not covering any part of what we're asking for, does it even need to be part of that application?
It doesn't need to be part of it. I mean, I think if you want to, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be submitted, but if you do submit it, again, this will be a very hands-on review. So, you know, if it's clear that this was for something that you're not requesting reimbursement for, then it won't be considered as far as the award amount. So short answer, I guess, is no, you don't need to submit it.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
This is Fran Martin from Open Arms Health Clinic. Question I have, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On the details that you might want on the expenses, I'm guessing you're wanting companies and amounts and all of that?
Yes. So I'll kind of go back to the 2 sections piece of this.
No, I got that. Okay.
Yeah, so for that first section, for expenses you've already incurred, if you can go ahead and submit any documentation you have to substantiate those expenses. You know, paid invoices, receipts, payroll logs, timesheets, you know, data about number of clients served. For your anticipated expenses, obviously you don't have that data yet, so we'll just ask for a detailed budget. And then you will be required to submit cost reimbursement invoices, for which we have a template. If that's something you haven't done before, I know that you have, but if others haven't, we've got that template for you. And then you will also be asked to
thank you.
the same level of data. Yeah.
How do you get that template?
I will send it to Regina and ask her to send it to everyone who logged into this call. Also, if you receive an award, you will receive it as part of an award packet. So you'll receive notification of award with a draft agreement, subrecipient guidelines, and a template, instructions on where to send your invoices every month, a tracking site so you can see, you know, where your payment process. Probably a lot more information than you'll want, but you'll hear from us again. So.
Okay, and I'm on the I'm on the phone, so I haven't logged in. So how would I get that my email to you?
Please email ngo@tarrantcounty.com.
Okay, and ask for the template. And then what's the processing time?
You broke up just a little bit there. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Processing time once you've submitted an application.
Sure. So I'm actually going to pull up a document. Give me just a second on my computer so that I don't say this wrong. And please also note that this is our internal timeline, and it's not firm, but it's what we are aiming for as far as application review. Let's see. So we are aiming, so the application closes July 21st at midnight. We will be reviewing the applications between July 22nd and August 7th. Those applications that are either countywide or involve in some way the city of Fort Worth will be sent over to the city of Fort Worth for review during that time period. We hope to begin briefing the Commissioners Court on all of the recommended award amounts on Tuesday, August 11th. We'll be providing them a report of all of the applicants, the total requested amount, and then making recommendations based on our application review of approval amounts. From there, we will contact everyone with a draft agreement and an award letter. And then we'll have to take those agreements back to Commissioners Court for final approval and then payment. So we're looking at most likely mid-August, and I know that's almost a month from now, but it is a process. But the good news is you'll have notification of award hopefully by the second week in August.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? I believe I'm looking at the chat now, and I believe you just answered Mr. Larry Curley's, where he asked, will you guys wait until the deadline has passed to start reviewing applications? Kristen, you just provided that draft timeline. And I believe there was one from Romney. Is that October 31st, 2020 or 2021?
That's 2020.
And I don't believe, Cheryl, you can double check me, Cheryl Kinney, if I'm missing any other questions in the chat.
I think that's it for now, but if anyone else has a question you want to put in the chat, we'll be glad to cover those.
And I do want to say I did misstate the phone number earlier, so if you want to write this down, and I'll ask Regina to share it as well in any follow-up to this Q&A, and that's 817-884-3717. I have to tell you, there's one person answering that call, that number. So if you have to leave a message, someone will get back to you. The quickest way to get a response is going to be ngo@tarrantcounty.com, because there are several people monitoring that email account.
Hi, this is Devanir. I don't have a question, but I did just want to mention that Kelly Rodriguez, who serves as our assistant precinct administrator, has been on this call. Many of you may have worked with her over the years, and certainly if you have any specific needs of our office, certainly utilize the contact information that I shared earlier and that Kelly added to the chat, but also you can feel free to reach out directly to Kelly.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. I will also add, again, this is Regina with United Way Arlington. One of the areas that we have been discussing with the grants department for the city of Arlington, as well as with Jennifer Wickman, is how can we support you all in the future for grant writing, whether that is sessions on your metrics, outcomes, evaluations, things of that sort. For those who have applied for funding such as CDBG, ESG, things of that sort, we do have a review team that reviews those applications. And we always look at them through an eye of not everyone has the same staff in regards to writing grant applications. And so when we think about equity, we want to make sure that we are providing as many resources as possible. So I know the time is getting late, but I'm going to put my email address in the chat box. If there are workshops that you think that would be helpful in the future that we might be able to consider, please shoot me an email and let me know. It is something that we hope to do and bring on board in the future of seeing how we can make sure that we're supporting our nonprofits, which ultimately supports our residents. So please brainstorm that with your team. And if there is any way that we can help support you, please let us know. Are there any final questions for Kristen?
And what is that email, please?
It is regina.williams@unitedwaytarrant.org.
William
Regina-
or William?
Williams with an S.
Okay,
And
I'm
either
sorry,
Regina,
now, United what?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Sorry, could you repeat it? Regina.williams@
unitedwaytarrant.org.
and is parent singular?
Tarrant, yes, ma'am.
.org.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we do have one more question for Kristen or Regina related to the PDF of the application and where they can find that. And can we just email that out to people, or
Yes.
we can also put it on the city's website?
Yes, I will send it both to Regina and you, Jennifer, to distribute to those on this call. If you email ngo@tarrantcounty.com, I can also send it out. Keep in mind that you can go to the website and you know what, actually what I'll do is I'll see if I can't get with our IT department as well to get a link posted to download that PDF on our website for those who want to do that. So there'll be multiple ways you can get it, and I'll send it out to as many people as I can as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen, for your time. We definitely appreciate just all the information and the knowledge that I think sets us up for success for Arlington residents and our nonprofits. I am going to take it back to Jennifer.
Thanks so much. Oh, hang on. Okay, sorry, I unmuted and then muted myself again. It just happens these days sometimes. So anyway, thank you everyone so much for your attendance today. We really appreciated you being with us. We're excited about the ideas, the questions that you've been asking clearly show that you're doing a lot of wonderful work in the community to help support all of our residents in this really tough time. If you'd like a second set of eyes on your application, someone to kind of proofread it and take a look at it, please email it to Cheryl Kenny. And so Cheryl's email address is Cheryl, SHERYL.Kenny, KENNY, at arlingtontx.gov. We'll have someone on staff look at it, offer some suggestions, and then get it back to you real quick so you can meet that July 21st deadline. It is, if you've filled out other applications, really hats off to the county. This one is really clear and is should not be too onerous. And we appreciate them making it that way because this is a tough time and time is short. So just a note, we're gonna do write up some information on this session that we've had and post that on our city website. One of the places it will be, and I think there might be links on maybe Mindy Cochran, the Housing Authority's website, and also on the United Way website. It'll be, if you look at the city's website, which is www.arlingtontx.gov, G-O-V, there's a big button on the front page that says coronavirus. If you click on that, and then if you click on assistance resources, there'll be a list of different articles in there that we've put up there. There'll be one on our session today, and it'll have a number of things. We're definitely going to have a link to this video so you can watch that. We'll also try to have links to other things like the PDF, information that has been asked about with the phone numbers and all of that. So hopefully it'll be a one-stop shop of sorts that you can get to, but we'll also ask all the people who shared information out to those of you to get on this call. We'll try to share that out again, just so if you have joined by phone or some other way, you'll be able to get that as well. So we just appreciate it, Commissioner. I'm sorry?
Can you repeat that now? Could you repeat that?
Which one do you need me to repeat? Oh, the website, sure. The www.arlingtontx.gov, G-O-V.
Coronavirus.
And then the coronavirus, it's like a really big button on the front. It's a big circle. It has a picture of that coronavirus, like the circle with the things sticking all out of it. Just click on that, and that will take you to the site. And then you can look for assistance resources. And I would also like to offer Commissioner Allen, if she'd like to also make some concluding remarks.
Yes, thank you so much, Jennifer. Again, I do just want to thank all of you all for all of your hard work. I think it's really important that we remember, as we're caring for the community, to ensure that we're also caring for ourselves. I do want to be sure to mention that our commissioner courts, our commissioners court meetings, they're every Tuesday at 10 a.m. and you can go to tarrantcounty.com and find the link there to watch the meetings virtually. Those meetings generally do start within 10 minutes or so after the hour. And our public health director, Dr. Vinny Tanasia, gives a situational awareness and kind of puts in context what's happening nationally, internationally, nationally, statewide, and then of course here in Tarrant County. So as you are trying to have the best understanding of what COVID looks like in our county, for a particular point in time, that's a great opportunity to hear directly from him on where we are on things. And then additionally, I'm going to ask for Kelly to add 2 websites. One is the Tarrant County testing dashboard, and the second, or the COVID testing dashboard, and the second is the Tarrant County summary cases dashboard. That information gets updated just about every day, and that is just a snapshot. So certainly in hearing Dr. Tanasia's updates every week in court, that really kind of puts things into context. So if you have any questions whatsoever about what your county government is doing for you, or if you have concerns about what we're not doing, don't hesitate to reach out to my office. Kelly did provide that information, but again, our office number is 817-248-6099. Thank you.
Is it possible to still send your app to Cheryl if you've already submitted it, in case there's something you didn't get right or anything, or just best to wait for it to process?
Well, we're happy to look at it at the city. We're not the ones reviewing it, but given the sort of, I guess, individual nature of the reviews, you might be able to at least get some comments and be ready if you have a chance to communicate back with the folks reviewing your grant. So really up to you.
Okay.
But just know we're not the ones who are making the decisions. We're just kind of helping proofread and maybe giving some editorial suggestions.
Okay. So the people who are viewing it are at the at tarrantcounty.com.
Yes. Yes.
And Ms. Wortham is at your office or that office?
She's at that office. Ms. Wortham Redmond is at in the county office.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And that's the reviewing office.
Okay, so we really appreciate everyone being with us. Please, everyone stay safe, wash your hands, wear your masks, and take care of yourselves, because you're taking care of a lot of our residents. So thank you so much.
Thank you.